Local. We are watching live the U of H basketball team come back home to U of H campus, signing autographs there, taking pictures, and mostly all smiles. I know everybody was feeling pretty bad for Coach Kelvin Sampson, but we saw him a little bit earlier, and there he is, shaking hands. Look at that. Oh, back of the all right jersey. Pretty sure he gets some crazy requests.
Yes!
All right, the team coming back. All smiles, happy to be back home. Great weather. Just a sea of Houston Cougars fans right now, and just so proud of the team. We will be following this story and, of course, bring you more coming up a little bit later. But we did end up with a chase that happened actually about an hour ago, and it just ended. This right here is a live look, courtesy Houston TransStar camera, Hardy Toll Road at Tidwell Ramp. Now, this what you're looking at is where that chase actually ended. The information that we have is limited, but we do know that around 1:45, constables reported they're pursuing a vehicle that was refusing to stop. The vehicle was traveling northbound on the Hardy Toll Road, approaching Rankin Road. Now, we do know that this chase has ended. Luckily, no injuries have been reported, but you can see a huge police presence here. We do know that HPD is working on this, and we know that 2 suspects are detained at this time. And Precinct 4 Constable Mark Herman did put out on X saying 2 suspects are detained at this time. Great by all. So we know that this chase is now coming to an end. Again, this is Hardy Toll Road at Tidwell Ramp, courtesy Houston TransStar camera, a chase that started around 1:30, 1:45. We're still getting details, but we do know that it has ended. So you will probably see a little bit of traffic there, as you can see in the traffic camera. But we are looking good there as far as clearing that chase scene. Now, another story that we are following for you very closely today is with Jonathan Mejia, who's working on it right now for us. People entering the country with the CBP One app facing deportation orders. So Jonathan is joining me live now. Jonathan, what exactly does this mean?
Well, it's status of limbo for almost 1 million immigrants who entered legally through the CBP One app. So that was a Biden era app where migrants were able to alert authorities that they were going to seek asylum here in the United States and enter through a port of entry at one of the 7 border bridges that we have across the southern border. So now, they're in limbo. I spoke with 2. I met with one woman who's from Venezuela. I was actually down in McAllen, and I got to meet her, learn her story. She was waiting in Mexico for 5 months to get her appointment, and she was finally able to come through. And now that she is living in the United States, she finds herself in Kentucky. She's working. She woke up to this devastating news, and she tells me she quite frankly does not know what to do because returning to Venezuela isn't an option for her. I also spoke with a Salvadoran woman who works and lives here in Houston, who has a year being here. She spent 4 months waiting in Mexico. And again, she says it's not an option to go back to El Salvador for her because she left that country fleeing from dangers to her and her family. So we spoke with an immigration attorney about what these people are facing. They're advising that they seek legal advice because you don't know what can happen, but they do want them to seek legal advice just so that they are prepared for whatever it may be. And their option may be that they have to return back to their country. So that's what we're working on today. We'll have those full interviews later on today on the newscast today at 6 p.m.
And so when you're talking to these people, because you've talked to many in the past, what's the one message they want to get out? Because obviously they don't want to go back to their home country.
Yeah, so the main message is that they're not all criminals. They're not all violent criminals. They understand that, there's certain people that have all different walks of life. But the majority of the people that I've spoken to say they want to do it the right way. They want to do it the legal way. And they come here to work to improve their life and pay their taxes. So they want to be here. They want to contribute to the country. And they want to provide a better future for themselves and for their future generations.
When I've done stories in the past and I've spoke with people, they not just fear getting legal advice, they say there's not enough of it available to them. Do you find that in your reporting as well?
That's a great question. Actually, the Venezuelan woman I spoke with today, she tells me, do you have an attorney I can reach out to? Because I don't know if I go to an attorney, will they take my case seriously now that they know that I am told to leave the country immediately. Mm-hmm. So there's fear that there's not enough, but also we've heard cases of immigration attorneys taking advantage of the unfortunate, yes, situation that so many people are living in.
But it's crazy because it's not the lack of effort there. It's just a lack of information, I feel. I know personally I have helped out several people that I have just encountered by just Googling something and finding an organization that can help, and they've received either paralegal help or whatever the case may be. Do you think the issue is also the fact that there's not enough information going out to these people?
I think that's what it is. And, access to these to this information in attorneys is so vital. A lot of these attorneys, they cost because it's money,
right,
but a lot of them work on pro bono cases. And I feel like if these immigrants had the ability to quickly, get an information, then maybe that helps them make better informed decisions. But I was reporting on a story, I think last week it was, and we're hearing about all the raids going on across the country, people being picked up at their, workplace, people being stopped. Some are violent criminals, some don't have any criminal history. And I spoke with an immigration attorney. He tells me, Jonathan, I'm sad to say this, but I'm thinking of leaving, the immigration side of legal help because we feel like we can't win with this administration.
Really? Wow. That is so very interesting.
So it's a bleak outlook.
I know, it really is. And so what do you tell these people after you leave them? I mean, you do feel helpless yourself. I mean, you can't help. I mean, I know that we have a job to do by obviously telling their story, but they're a lot of times looking at us as a resource for help.
Yeah, I tell them, I'm not an attorney. Your best option is to seek legal advice.
Yes.
Because that's all I can do for you. I mean, I think the best thing I am doing for you is sharing your story and amplifying your voice, your fight. But at the end of the day, we're not, have that legal authority to give them those information.
Yes, I'm sure it's definitely difficult for you to report on it, especially when you're in the border and you see all of that. So good job, though, and thank you for that information. All right, the other story that we're following for you, very surprising for so many people. Houston rapper Slim Thug, the target of a burglary. Fox 26 morning anchor Sally McDonald has that for us.
We're following a developing story here at Fox 26 Houston. Sources telling our Isaiah Carey that burglars broke into Slim Thug's apartment late Monday night on Texas Avenue in downtown Houston. Now we're told the burglars forced their way into the unit and took jewelry and
26 News at 5. Now, another story that we are following for you is hemp legislation making headlines. Monday, members of the House State Affairs Committee took up two bills that would dramatically rein in what's grown into a multi-billion-dollar industry across Texas. We are talking about hemp and also THC. SB 3 would ban the sale of all products with THC except those authorized by the Compassionate Use Law. HB 28 bans synthetic THC and products like gummies, but it allows hemp-infused beverages, which would be regulated in alcohol. So earlier today, our Shelby Rose spoke with Ben Meggs, CEO of Bayou City Hemp and Eighth Wonder Brewery, about the bills and what they mean.
The first one is House Bill 28. First, just give me your thoughts on that legislation first and foremost.
Yeah, HB 28, authored by Chairman King, we're very excited about that legislation. It's not perfect for what we're looking for, but it is a step in the right direction, and we feel like with a few tweaks, it could be something that the industry could live with.
But it would ban gummies, and that is a huge point of sale for you.
It is. It's a huge point of sale for us, and you have to start somewhere. I don't think the bill that's written today is the one that's going to be final and pass through. I think there's going to be a lot of there's already a substitute bill out behind it that changes quite a few things, and we'll just have to see what the appetite in the House is for edibles. We certainly want the ability to sell those, and if they believe they can regulate it responsibly, which we of course believe they can, then there's going to be a really great opportunity there.
Why do you want to vouch for regulation so badly?
Yeah, historically, I come from the oil and gas industry, very, very heavily regulated. The only way to have a real sustainable and industry that has some longevity is to lean into regulation. We've seen what happens when there's no regulation. We we empathize with the legislature out there in that this business is getting very large. It's growing very rapidly, and there are bad actors. And the only way to ensure that we protect the kids and introduce this new category to consumers responsibly is to properly regulate it.
When you say bad actors, do you mean people that are labeling products that doesn't have the dosage that's in it, or what do you mean by that?
Yeah, you know, and I wouldn't say that I coined the term bad actors. I think it's what the legislature thinks. But, you know, very, very high dose products, you know, when you see 1,000 milligram chocolate bars out there, when you see all of these synthetic cannabinoids that, you know, are produced in a lab, that scares a lot of the politicians and a lot of consumers.
So then we also have, you know, Senate Bill 3 already passed through the Senate. So, you know, there's only essentially 1 or 2 more steps before it hits Governor Abbott's desk, and that would ban everything altogether. That would effectively ruin your business, would it not?
That would be catastrophic. You know, we came from very humble beginnings. We have 60 plus employees now, and they rely on this opportunity, this business, for their livelihood. You know, as you know, we would be forced to move out of the state of Texas, you know, most likely to a place like Florida, where they're pro-industry.
And that was one thing that was a little bit of point of discussion, you know, while you were testifying on House Bill 28. You know, they were wondering if you could still sell products in Texas even though they're manufactured in Florida. Can you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, so hemp is a federally legal product. So you can't stop interstate commerce. You can't stop it from crossing state lines. That's just, that's how the federal law works. And so in essence, SB 3 would only outlaw our ability to manufacture and sell it here. It would only hurt Texas companies because all of the other out-of-state companies can still ship their product into the state.
What has been just the overall thought with, because I'm sure that it's probably you know a lot of people that are also in this industry in the
Absolutely.
state. What has the discussions been like just in regards of all this legislation that's now being put forth?
Yeah, you know, I think for the most part the industry's aligned. You know, we're up against a really big fight. The Lieutenant Governor's, you know, upset about the way this has grown and the direction it's gone, and you know, I think there's some. He has a right to be. We understand that, and you know, we're trying to do the best we can do to save any part of the industry. We recognize that we're up against a very big fight, and we've done it properly and been good actors the entire way, and we want to ensure that we have an industry left at, you know, at the end of the day.
What's your, I guess, thought in terms of the possibility of SB 3 passing through the House?
I think it's possible. There's always a possibility. I think there is appetite in the House to regulate this properly. I know there were, gosh, I think there were more than 500 people who testified last night. It was a very long day. And I think you heard a lot of really wonderful testimony explaining the good and the bad. And, you know, I think they really listened. I think the committee up there, Chairman King and the members, I think they heard us loud and clear, and I think there's a real opportunity to regulate this properly without, you know, giving us the death penalty, if you will.
All right, and that was Shelby Rose reporting for us there. Now, current Fort Bend County Judge K.P. George, he's been the headlines a lot for some charges. The latest one being 2 counts of money laundering. These charges actually came last Friday. K.P. George has been in several headlines. As Fox 26 reported, George could be changing parties to the Republican Party. George was also indicted on a charge of misrepresentation of identity back in September of 2024. It was previously alleged that he allowed his consultant at the time, Taral Patel, to post social media comments impersonating people online to threaten others. Well, today, Judge George's attorney spoke, as did Precinct 1 Commissioner Vincent Morales.
Woodville and Terry Yates and I are representing Judge George. It's really an honor to represent him. Because when we looked at this case, what we found here is nothing short of a DA's office that's being weaponized in an effort to take out a political opponent. That's what this is all about. It's nothing more than a partisan political case. So you go back and you look at the underlying misdemeanor charge, which I'm sure that a lot of y'all are familiar with that. It's very clear that is one thing and one thing only, an alleged campaign violation. And the law is very clear. When you have a campaign violation, First and foremost, you have to go through the TEC, the Texas Ethics Commission. That is the appropriate body establishing exclusive jurisdiction before you can move forward with the criminal action. The DA's office, because this is so much about partisan politics in an effort to take out a political opponent, decided to bypass the TEC and first move forward with the prosecution of a misdemeanor. A misdemeanor, because again, this isn't about truth, this isn't about justice, this is about weaponizing the DA's office in an effort to take out a political opponent. And then when they aren't successful there, when they realize that he won't take their deal to resign and just go away quietly into that good night, when he says, no, I didn't do anything wrong, I'm going to stand and fight, what do we see next? We see an indictment. Money laundering is what they call it. But if you look at it, what it really is allegations of discrepancies or mistakes made on campaign finance reports. Again, if those are the underlying facts, you have to first go through the Texas Ethics Commission. Again, this district attorney decides to bypass the Texas Ethics Commission. So we have a DA's office that in an effort to take the judge out because they don't like the votes that he's made with respect to redistricting and other things over the past few years, in an effort to weaponize that office, they've abused the criminal justice system. And Judge George is not going to back down. He is not going to resign. He's going to continue to stay and fight. And I can assure you, once the facts come to light of day, folks are going to be looking at the district attorney and his office and looking at the abuse that's occurring here. This district attorney really should recuse himself or disqualify himself from this case right now, because this is nothing more than partisan politics and, again, an abuse of the DA's office. And Terry, I know you wanted to address a little bit more of that.
Well, this is not new. We've seen this across the nation for many, many years, and it goes back to the old Stalin regime. You remember Stalin? He said, you show me the man and I'll show you the crime. This is an old political ruse that's been used by many regimes, and it's got to stop. It's ridiculous.
It does go to trial, and he's convicted. Then obviously there is a statute that would force him to step down. But at this point, I know that everyone is innocent until proven guilty. But I go back to the real reason is I just feel like it's taken away from county business, the day-to-day business that needs to be conducted. Just as this weekend, my phone was blowing up. I have constituents that are concerned, and I felt like that with the number of constituents and the number of people that reached out to me, that it proved that it is definitely causing a distraction for us here in the county.
And what about the charges, felony charges, money laundering, tampering with the government record?
Well, as I said in the statement, our DA, Brian Middleton, will do a great job in going through that. And, if he, obviously I guess they found something that it went as far as it did. So I'm just concerned about the day-to-day business of the county.
And then my last question is, coming off of that, you're going to be in Commissioner's Court with him shortly.
Yes.
Is it difficult, is it hard to work with him now with this looming over Commissioner's Court in the county?
I just try to overlook it. I came here today even thinking that I just need to overlook it and try to focus on the business of the county.
All right. Well, looking to travel anytime soon, then you're going to want to listen up to this. The latest deadline for the Real ID enforcement is May 7th, after which you will need a Real ID compliant driver's license or state ID. Anchor DeLon Dillard spoke with Zach Wichter, consumer travel reporter, which we'll have on our website, fox26houston.com. We'll be right back. Houston Live and Local. I have Greg Rugen with me. So, Greg, what are you working on today?
Huge debate in this state over whether the proliferation of smoke shops and THC should continue or whether it should be banned. There's legislation in the Texas Senate and the Texas House to do exactly that. And I heard from Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, who is the big advocate for a complete ban.
Okay.
So basically what happened was it was the Wild West out there. Some people were operating responsibly and not selling to kids or selling products that had huge amounts of THC. Others were not. One of the great figures I heard was that there are twice as many smoke shops or THC vendors in the state of Texas right now after 4 or 5 years than there are McDonald's and Starbucks combined. So somebody's making some money.
Do you think it's because there's a huge need for it, or is it because it's so lucrative, or both?
I think it's highly lucrative, and I think there's clearly a demand. People want these products or they wouldn't be buying them. And that's the point that the folks in this business, and there's a wide array, very responsible and those who are busting the rules right and left. They say regulate this. We can fix this problem. Because if you declare prohibition, what happens next? It goes on the black market. And we're talking about dealers on the corner, again, just selling this stuff.
That's what you're trying to avoid, obviously.
Right. So the ban has passed the Senate.
Okay.
Now the House is considering another bill which would put new and stronger regulations. Now, we talked to the CEO of Eighth Wonder Brewery, and he's an incredibly articulate spokesman for that industry. They've been doing it right all these years, and they're saying don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. We've got lots of people who are employed in this industry. We can get this right. We can make it safe. And yeah, Dan Patrick, you have good reason to be upset with what has unfolded, but don't kill this industry because it's an economic driver, and it's much safer when government has their hands in terms of regulation than if it's just the black market out there, drug dealers on the corner.
All right, Greg, we're going to get back to work. I'll look forward to your report.
We're going to have kind of a point-counterpoint debate in our 5 p.m.
Oh, okay.
Should be pretty good.
All right. We'll look forward to that. Thanks,
You
Greg.
bet.
I appreciate it. All right, let's talk about weather. I positioned Greg in a way to where I wouldn't have to walk too much, so I had Greg come a little bit closer. And we have the one, the only, who hasn't pulled up a chair for me.
I didn't know
This
if you
is what
wanted to
happened
sit.
yesterday.
Here we go.
Okay, here we go.
Got you ready.
Let's talk about it. It's just me here. Let's go.
Coming in.
Let's talk about it. We have like a minute. What can you tell us about the weather?
No, I've got questions for you.
No.
You've been asking enough questions.
I know,
I'll
but
ask
it's
questions.
my job.
Okay.
No, that's another show.
All right, you go.
Okay.
We'll take turns. You go first.
Yeah, okay. What's going on with the weather?
It's fantastic. It's beautiful.
What's going on with the allergies?
That is also out of control. I haven't checked the update for today, but the oak tree pollen is still very high. Everything else is at the medium levels. My question is for you. What did you do outside today to enjoy this beautiful weather?
I took the garbage can and put it back into the garage because we had trash day today.
Fantastic.
And then I took the kids to school.
Yes,
yes.
that was outdoors.
We went outdoors and we played Christmas music in the car because it was cool.
Right.
So that's that. What I do want to show everyone is he's ahead of the game
I've
today,
got some
guys,
numbers on the.
because
I got
he's-
some numbers on the chart
Look at
today.
this chart today.
I still haven't figured out Tuesday yet. You'll
Okay.
notice we're still working on Tuesday, but that's a week away. So
Well, the weather's been phenomenal, and I think people
all the
can-
numbers are everywhere. We can see my forecast
Oh yes,
already.
this is a breaking news.
Yeah.
So great weather, allergies still out there. So we'll have a lot more coming up a little bit later. Thank you guys so much for watching this show. We'll see you next time.